The neon glow of Estrella Station bled through the misty corridors like a dream stuck between worlds. Rain didn't fall, here just condensation from the recycled air systems dripping from exposed pipes. Above, Dante Voss, a seasoned solo pilot, moved through the crowd with steady steps. His boots made no sound on the grated floors as he passed vending stalls and android merchants. 3 years alone in deep space had taught him to trust silence more than words. He paused before a storefront, tucked between a cryo lounge and a prosthetic mod shop. The sign flickered in 6 languages: Pet Intelligence Emporium, smart, loyal, adaptive. Inside, holograms of robotic companions spun lazily, cats with wings, dogs that hovered, even serpentine creatures with smiling leads. He wasn't looking for anything wild, just something to fill the quiet between jumps. An automated voice greeted him as the doors whooshed open. "Welcome, valued customer. Seek comfort, loyalty. We offer companionship beyond programming." Dante didn't answer. He just scanned the lineup. Machines in cages, models lined like products on display. Most looked synthetic, but then one caught his eye. She wasn't in a cage. She stood, still and poised, behind a glass barrier. Her skin shimmered faintly lavender under the low lights. Her long silver-black hair was tied in a sleek braid, her body framed in a minimal dark suit that resembled pilot attire more than pet gear. Around her neck glowed a soft digital collar with a serial code. The clerk aboard, looking humanoid. Drone glanced at her. Model AXLN8, adaptive humanoid, originally designed for high-level diplomatic training and deep space psychology simulations. Highly sought after by private contractors. She's classified as a smart pet, but with bonus interaction modules. Would you like to inspect? Dante's brow furrowed. That's a real person. She was born, not built, the clerk admitted, but signed into voluntary service per coalition law. No violations. She understands the arrangement. Companionship contract. Behavioral restrictions coded into the collar. Dante's jaw tightened. She has a name. The woman stepped forward slowly. My designation is Kelith, but I prefer Kayla. Her voice had a softness that didn't match her situation, calm, melodic, completely composed. Are you doing this willingly? He asked her directly. I'm choosing survival, she said with quiet dignity. My planet collapsed. The council offered refuge, but not sustenance. This arrangement allows me to live, to learn, to find another path. Dante looked back at the clerk. What happens if I don't take her? She stays here until someone else does, or until her service term ends, whichever happens first. There was a long pause before Dante reached for his digital wallet. I want the contract. Confirmed, the clerk said. Ownership will transfer upon scan. The transaction took less than 10 seconds. The glass barrier lifted. Kayla stepped forward with smooth grace and stopped an arm's length from him. She tilted her head slightly, eyes curious. He cleared his throat. You don't have to call me master or anything. I understand, she said, voice light. But for formality, until the collar is reprogrammed, I'm bound to address you that way in certain zones. That's not going to work for me. Then I will default to your given name, Dante. He didn't know how she learned it, probably downloaded from the payment file. Still, hearing it from her felt strange, familiar. Somehow they walked together back to Ward, his ship the Star Hunter, without much conversation. He caught her glancing at the overhead structures, the advertisement drones, the children chasing programmable lizards across the floor. Her expression stayed composed, but he noticed how tightly she kept her hands clasped behind her back. Inside the ship, she paused in the main hall. This vessel smells lived in, she murmured, like oil, oxygen, and cinnamon. That last one's from the coffee dispenser. She looked at him. I like it. Dante took her to the spare quarters, small, Barely enough space for a bed and a storage bin. You can set up here. Kayla glanced at the cot, then back at him. According to necessary companion etiquette, I am expected to sleep close to the one I'm contracted to. Well, I'm human, so no need for that. Understood. Before he left the room, she added softly, "Thank you. Most don't ask questions. They assume you didn't." He hesitated, then nodded once. "You're not a pet to me, Kayla. I don't know what this is yet, but I won't treat you like something I bought." Her lips curved ever so slightly. "Then perhaps this arrangement will be more than either of us expected." As the door closed behind him, Dante exhaled deeply. This was supposed to be simple, just a way to avoid the endless silence of space. But now, silence felt very far away. The hum of the Star Hunter's engines was a familiar comfort to Dante. He'd lived in that sound for years, used it to muffle the ache of solitude. But now, with Kayla aboard, the silence between systems felt different, charged with something he couldn't quite name. She moved through the ship like she'd always belonged, not as a passenger or cargo, but as part of the structure fluid, observant, never in the way, but always nearby. She studied every detail with quiet reverence. The control panels, the food replicator, even the emergency airlocks. "You're cataloging everything," Dante said one evening, finding her crouched near the auxiliary generator. "Instinct," she replied, not looking up. On Nexar, survival meant learning quickly. Every new space held risks, traps, possibilities. He leaned against the bulkhead. "Not everything here is trying to kill you." She rose gracefully, and yet, humans still build escape hatches. Dante smirked. "Touché." That night, he caught her standing at the main viewport, eyes fixed on the stars. She didn't speak when he approached, just watched. "What do you see out there?" he asked. She hesitated. "Home, or what's left of it. I used to stare at those same stars as a child, wondering which ones had people like us. Now I stare at them again, wondering if any still care." There was no self-pity in her voice, only quiet reflection. "Do you miss it?" Kayla nodded, in the way someone misses a melody they can't hum anymore. "My people scattered. Some survived, most didn't. We were never built for diaspora." Dante studied her. The soft glow of the stars lit her lilac-tinted skin, casting her in an ethereal halo. In that moment, she didn't look like someone bought from a pet shop. She looked like royalty, lost in the dark. "You ever think about going back?" he asked gently. "There's nothing to go back to." The soil cracked. The sun turned sick. Even the wind changed its language. Her gaze shifted to him. "But humans, you don't run from ruins. You rebuild them. That's why I agreed to the contract. I wanted to see what made your kind so stubborn. And now," she offered a faint smile. "Still stubborn, but more curious than I expected." Dante opened his mouth to respond, but the ship's alert cut him off. "Incoming transmission, priority level, unknown." He moved to the console, Kayla close behind. The message was a scrambled burst of sound, no clear language, just distorted frequencies that looped 3 times, then vanished. "Did you catch that?" he asked. Kayla nodded slowly. "That wasn't a message for humans." She placed a hand on the panel. Her collar flickered, and a soft pulse of light flowed through her fingers. "What are you doing?" Dante asked. "Decoding. Nexian frequencies. Operate in harmonic layers." That wasn't noise, it was a beacon. The console flickered, and a translated sentence bloomed on the screen. "They are still watching. The contracts are a front. Return her." Dante stiffened. "Who the hell is they?" Kella's expression darkened. "The handlers, brokers, the ones who profit from the ruins of my world. Not everyone wants the Nexian people to find a future. You're saying someone's tracking you. I'm saying someone expected me to fail." Dante stepped back, running a hand through his hair. You think they'll come for you? No, she said, voice low. They'll come for you, to punish your defiance, and to reclaim me, like property. Something flared hot in his chest. Not fear, not even anger. Resolve. We'll deal with it. Kayla turned to him. You don't understand what you've stepped into. He stepped closer. Neither did you. But here we are. They stared at each other for a moment. Not owner and pet, not pilot and passenger. Two people caught in something far bigger than either planned. You could still end the contract, she said quietly. Return me. No one would blame you. I didn't buy a toy, Dante replied. I welcomed someone into my ship, into my life. You're not going anywhere. A flicker of something passed through her eyes. Surprise, relief, maybe even affection. You're not what I expected, she whispered. Neither are you. Without thinking, he reached for her hand. She didn't pull away. Her fingers were cool, but warmed quickly in his grip. The stars beyond the viewport blinked silently. Somewhere out there, enemies stirred. Watchers waited, but inside the something far rarer had begun to form. Not just connection, not just loyalty, trust. The hum of the Star Hunter's engine shifted slightly as it dropped out of hyperspace. Dante adjusted the controls, steering them into a quiet orbit above an uninhabited moon. No traffic, no transmissions, just silence and open space. It was intentional. He needed time to think, and Kayla, she needed time to breathe. The message they'd received haunted him, not just for what it said, but for what it implied. That her contract wasn't protection, that her presence on his ship might be a trap. Neither of them had seen coming. Kayla sat at the table in the galley, her fingers tracing a faint pattern into the metal. She looked calm, but Dante knew better now. She was always calculating, always scanning the room, always preparing for something. He placed a warm drink in front of her. She blinked, looking up. You're trying to soothe me. I figured caffeine and warmth can't hurt. A small smile touched her lips. That's very human of you. He sat across from her. What happens if we ignore the message? They escalate, she said plainly. I don't know when or how, but they will. They don't like failure, and they hate defiance. You've dealt with them before. Not directly, but I've seen what they do to those who try to break the system. Disappearances, shattered contracts, discrediting people before eliminating them. Dante exhaled sharply. So you weren't just trying to survive when you signed up. You were investigating. Kella's eyes met his. Yes, I volunteered for the companion registry to expose the networks exploiting my people. We thought if we could track the transfers and trace the payments. Your people, the Nexian Council, she said, or what's left of it. We scattered after the collapse. A few of us stayed organized. We realized that the traffickers weren't just criminals, they were politically protected. So you pretended to be a smart pet, Dante said slowly, and got bought by a guy looking for a distraction. Exactly. Bad luck for you. No, she said softly. Very good luck. There was a long pause between them. You weren't supposed to care, she added. You were supposed to enjoy the contract. Follow the rules. Let the weeks pass. Most buyers don't ask questions. He leaned forward. And if I hadn't, then I'd still be smiling in silence, playing my part. And eventually, I'd vanish like the others. Dante reached out and gently brushed his fingers against the glowing collar at her neck. Can this thing be removed? Yes, but not without a signal from the contract server. And where's that? She hesitated. In a coalition-owned sector, heavily monitored. Any unauthorized attempt to tamper with it flags us as fugitives. So, we're stuck. Unless, she added carefully, we find someone who knows how to rewrite the contract remotely, quietly. You know someone, possibly, but it would require a detour. Of course it would. She placed her hand over his. You don't have to help me, Dante. This is my mission, my war. He didn't pull away. Your war found its way onto my ship, onto my life. I won't ignore that. Kayla studied him, her expression unreadable. Then there's something else you need to know. She reached for the collar. With a slow, deliberate motion, she tapped a sequence into the tag's holographic interface. A faint click sounded as the locking mechanism disengaged. The collar slipped free, and she set it on the table. Dante stared. I thought you said I lead, she said simply. I've always had the override, but I needed to be sure you were real, that you didn't see me as property, that you wouldn't turn on me the moment I stopped being yours. He sat back, silent. You passed, she added gently, and if I hadn't, I would have left while you slept. He shook his head. You are a terrifying woman. Smile widened, only to those who deserve it. She reached across the table and touched his cheek just briefly, just enough to send a ripple through his chest that no words could explain. Then the ship's alert chimed again. Proximity warning. Unregistered vessel approaching. Dante was on his feet in seconds. Kayla followed, already scanning the feed from the ship's sensors. The ship was small, but fast. No markings, no ID. They found us, she murmured, and they're not here to negotiate. Dante's hands flew across the controls. Strap in. If they want a fight, they're getting one. Kayla placed the collar back on the table. Her eyes were steady. Her voice was calm. Then let's show them what happens when you corner a human and a Nexian. The red lights pulsed through the corridors of the Star Hunter like a heartbeat in panic. Outside, the unmarked ship hovered, blocking their path like a predator stalking wounded prey. It didn't hail. It didn't announce itself. It simply locked weapons and waited. They're not coalition, Kayla said as she studied the ship's emissions. Not pirates either. This is a private hit, squad silent, clean, and very expensive. So someone serious about getting you back, Dante muttered. Her eyes flicked to him. No, Dante, they're not after me anymore. Not just me. They want to erase everything we know, and anyone who might talk. He didn't hesitate. Then we stop them here. Kayla moved to the weapons panel. This ship isn't built for combat. Dante grinned. Good thing I don't fly it like a cargo hauler. The enemy ship fired a warning shot, barely missing their hull. The impact sent tremors through the frame. Kayla braced herself against the panel. They're aiming close on purpose, she said. They want us scared, cornered. Wrong ship for that, Dante replied, already punching thrusters. The Star Hunter jolted forward, weaving between space debris near the moon's orbit. Kayla held on tight, her eyes wide not with fear, but thrill. You're enjoying this, she said. Little bit, he admitted. Their ship dipped low, hugging the moon's gravity well, forcing the larger enemy ship to adjust course, pulling them out of formation, Kayla noted. You're thinking of using the dust ring. Exactly. The moon's orbit was surrounded by a wide belt of fine rock particles and magnetic debrisless for most travel, but perfect for ambushes. As they entered the ring, visibility dropped to almost zero. The enemy ship hesitated, then followed. Slower now. Kayla tapped the shield modulator. Activating cloaking scatter. Buying us 30 seconds of visual invisibility, Dante added. They worked together in complete sync, her reading sensor spikes and dampening their trail, him guiding the ship through narrow asteroid fields with a precision even smugglers would envy. When the enemy ship came close enough, Dante triggered the EMP burst. The flash of white light rippled through space. The unmarked ship stuttered, its systems overloaded, and its engines sputtered into forced shutdown. But they had no time to celebrate. A second ship uncloaked behind them, smaller, faster, and already firing. Kayla's instincts flared. They sent backups. The Star Hunter took a glancing hit. Sparks burst from the ceiling as Dante rolled them sideways, narrowly avoiding a full strike. I'm going to power to forward shields, Kayla said. But that gives us no rear defense. Fine by me. Dante twisted the controls. I don't plan on running. They dove into the shadow of a larger asteroid, using its mass to blind the enemy ships. Targeting system. Kayla watched their pursuers draw closer. Too close. Then she moved. Sliding across the deck, she yanked open a floor panel and pulled up a sleek, black device. One Dante hadn't even known existed. What is that? He shouted. Something I hoped I wouldn't need. She flicked the device on. It pulsed with low energy. Kaela closed her eyes when she spoke. It wasn't with her voice but with her mind. The alien ship suddenly jerked. Its weapons powered down. Its engines stalled. What did you do? Dante asked, stunned. I overwhelmed their navigator's mind. Just for a moment. You're telepathic. Partially, she said, breathing hard. Only with compatible species. Lucky for us, their pilot was Nexian. Dante stared at her. You never mentioned you could do that. You never asked, she said with a tired smile. The damaged enemy ship now drifted helplessly. The first, disabled from the EMP, was still dead in space. We should go, Dante said, before more show up. But Kayla didn't move. I need to board that ship, she said. He blinked. What? They have data, routes, names, proof of the trafficking system. We can't just leave it behind. Dante cursed under his breath, then nodded. You have 5 minutes. I'll dock. Us. They aligned the air. Kayla entered alone, slipping through the pressurized corridor like a ghost. When she returned minutes later, her eyes were alight with something Dante hadn't seen before: hope. I have it, she said breathlessly. I have everything. Just before the airlock sealed, Dante saw a flash of movement from the enemy ship. Someone inside, a figure watching. Kayla saw it too. They'll come again, she said quietly. Stronger, smarter. Then so will we, Dante replied, his voice firm. The Star Hunter broke orbit and vanished into hyperspace, carrying with it more than just 2 fugitives. Now, they carried the truth, and the war had truly begun. The Star Hunter drifted through the edge of the Veil Nebula, its exterior lights dimmed and heat signature reduced to a ghost's breath. No signals were broadcast, no coordinates were logged. It was hiding, but not out of fear. This time, it was strategy. Inside, Kayla stood in the bridge's dim light, a data crystal cradled in her hands. The files she'd pulled from the enemy ship were loaded with names, financial trails, and backdoor protocols. It was more than evidence, it was a weapon, one that could either spark reform or get them both killed. Dante watched her from the pilot's chair. She looked different now. Not just physically, though. The tension in her shoulders had eased, but in spirit. Her mission had shifted. What started as survival had evolved into something bolder. She wasn't just trying to survive anymore. She was fighting back. You haven't said much, he noted softly. Kayla didn't look up. I've been reading and remembering. Remembering what? My mother's voice, she said quietly. She told me stories of humans when I was young. Said they were loud, emotional, reckless, and somehow always the ones who changed the odds. Dante raised an eyebrow. Sounds about right. She didn't trust your species, but she respected it. And what about you? Kayla turned slowly, the faint blue glow of the nebula casting her face in silver light. I thought I was only here to observe you, to learn from you, but then I met you, and now I find myself changing. Dante stood. So do I. He walked toward her until they were only a breath apart. Before you, this ship was just steel and silence. Now it's alive. Kella's fingers brushed the edge of his jacket. You didn't have to care, Dante. You could have returned me, walked away, but you didn't. Because you're not a pet, he said. You're not a companion. You're Kayla, and you matter. The air between them shimmered with unspoken tension. Then she leaned in, resting her forehead against his. I feel you, she whispered. Not just with touch. I feel you, and it terrifies me. He closed his eyes. Good. That means it's real. Before anything else could be said, the ship's AI chimed in. Incoming transmission. Encrypted. Coalition Council. Priority channel. Kayla snapped upright, quickly inputting authorization codes. The holographic feed flickered to life, revealing a familiar face, Admiral Lysol of the Coalition's Internal Affairs Division, Kyla Nix. Dante Voss, the Admiral said. We've reviewed your data packet and your accusations. Well? Dante asked. They're credible, the Admiral said, a flicker of exhaustion in his tone. More than credible. You've exposed a network so vast, it touches half our border worlds. Kayla's jaw tightened. And now we act. Quietly, swiftly, and with your help. Kayla nodded. We'll do what we can, but we're not soldiers. No, the Admiral said. You're better. You're proof that humans and Nexians can trust each other. That the old ways don't work anymore. His image faded, and the room fell silent. Dante looked at her. So, we're in this for good now. Kayla reached up and unclipped her collar, still glowing softly, though no longer locked. She set it down gently on the console. No more pretending, she said. I'm not bound by contract, and I'm not staying because of duty. She looked him straight in the eyes. I'm staying because I choose you. He closed the gap between them in one step, pulling her into a kiss that wasn't rushed or desperate, but sure, grounded, real. When they broke apart, neither of them spoke. Words weren't necessary anymore. Later, as the Star Hunter cruised through silent space, again, Dante stood on the observation deck. Kayla joined him, their fingers naturally interlacing. Below them, in the starlit bunkroom, a small group of rescued Nexian youths, freed, thanks to Kayla's earlier missions, slept peacefully. They'd taken them in after the last raid. Survivors, orphans. Now passengers aboard a ship that had quietly become more than just a freighter. A home, you know, Kayla said, resting her head on his shoulder. Your species is dangerously good at turning broken things into miracles. He smiled. That's because we don't know when to quit, and I don't want you to. They watched as the stars slid by, endless and quiet. Their war wasn't over. Enemies still lurked. Contracts still bound, others like Kayla, but they had each other. They had a ship, and they had a bond stronger than any contract. And that bond, it would change everything.